obviously a really great performance from you guys on the road and a massive result. You switched the formation to the 4-2-3-1, something we haven't seen really in MLS play since the second game of the season.
No, I will say after New York City, which we play similar way, yes.
Okay. What made you sort of want to go back to that formation for this game?
Yeah, I think we felt that was the right approach to this match. I think changing something, it was a good thing for us. I think with the system, I think we're able to pressure a little bit better in the wide areas, even though we forced the ball there, and prevent a little bit, spaces for them to keep on putting balls in behind us. So with the ball, we did a lot of good things, and I think the important part was the discipline in making sure that we closed the spaces, that the team was very compact, and a very good performance by the guys.
RSL's coach talked about what Valeri was able to do in the system, how dangerous he was. Do you think maybe the change in the system helped him be a little bit more dangerous?
Yeah, maybe. I don't think only the change of the system. I think the way the team play, because I think at the end the mobility of everybody allowed not only Valeri, but also Blanco, Polo to find space, but also the good movement of Jeremy allow Valeri to find good spaces. Then we saw Chara that he played a little bit as an 8. Was the one that had a little more freedom to go forward, and Guzman set really well, supporting the movements of Chara. So it was, I think, a complete performance by all the guys.
And then just why was the decision maybe not to go back to this formation until this point? And is this now, after seeing that performance, a formation we could see more of?
I have my reasons. I felt that the team first needed to be compact. We had to build and evolve to this system. And I felt that this was the right moment to be able to change some things. But within the system, there were many things that we did to make sure that we were mostly compact and organized defensively. So I felt that was the right approach for this match, and we'll see what's going to happen, going forward.
Blanco has obviously been very dangerous for you guys and versatile wherever you need to sort of play him, but in this role maybe as more of like an inverted winger, he once again came up big for you guys. Why do you think he's been so good, so consistent for you guys this season?
I think he's been, first of all, sharp from the beginning of the season. I think he's been doing the right things outside the field. First of all, with his nutrition, with his lifestyle, he's been very disciplined, very good. Inside the field, I think he feels a lot more comfortable. And I think he's been one of the steadiest players that we have had the entire season. So anywhere that he plays, as you mentioned, he's done really well.
Coach, can I just ask a follow-up question about the NYCFC game, which you corrected Jamie and said you felt that was a 4-2-3-1.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Andres Flores in particular playing very deep and to the right based on what New York wanted to do building down that side.
Mm-hmm.
What aspects of how you deployed the team that day makes you call that formation a 4-2-3-1?
Yeah, because I think it's important to understand what we, sometimes in with the systems, there's responsibility defensively and there's responsibilities going forward. In some games, you'll have more freedom to be able to, to play in certain shape going forward. But ultimately, defensively, we were exactly the same as we were in this match. And the important part was to make sure that we didn't allow teams to be able to get space. So the same approach was taken in both games, and that's why I corrected to make sure that it was understood that that day the important part was that we had wingers to make sure that we pressure them in those wide areas. So overall, very good performance again going back to this match.
Over the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of talk amongst people like us about the formation, specifically how we numerically talk about them. What is your philosophy about the importance of those formations and the descriptions of those formations?
I think systems are to be able to talk a lot about it. You can tweak and say and move, and I think at the end formations can get transformed during matches, depending on different matches. The responsibilities are always different, and I think sometimes I believe that the most important part is to make sure that each player understands what the role is within the system that that you play in at that particular time. At this game, we decided to go this way because we felt it was the right approach in the way Real Salt Lake plays, and the guys did a great job.
One of the major changes that comes with this formation change is moving Andy Polo from a central midfield role to a right wing role. In that central midfield role, he's had to cover so much ground this year. What is your feeling about the importance of his ability to get out of that central midfield role, provide width, before you switch to this formation?
No, we know that Polo has been really working hard and sacrificing himself in being that player that can help defensively and also, you know, give us width and attack. In this particular game, being a little bit higher allow him to be able to be a little more dangerous in the moments that we had the ball, and he created a lot of, you know, good situations. In particular, you know, the situations that happen on his side going forward, as well as, you know, when we had the ball on the left side, creating opportunities, you know, coming inside.
You're through your stretch of, I think in over 4 weeks, you had 3 weeks where you were playing 3 in 8 games. What kind of feedback do you get internally from people like Nick Malonis and the rest of the training staff to help you make the decisions about who can and can't do those quick turnarounds?
Yeah, I think first of all, the good thing is that we have a group that is very fresh. Usually at this part of the season, teams and players start to feel you know, the whole season because it's a long season. And the good thing about our guys is that they look fresh, they look motivated, they look with energy, and everybody feels that they're a step away from being able to be, you know, a starter. So with that in mind, we just have to make the difficult decisions always to have to play the 11. But I'm very content with the entire team. So the important part is that the work that Milonas does is to make sure that everybody's sharp, that everybody's physically strong, and with a mix of T2 as well, you know, in getting those players time as well to play with T2 during the entire year. We try to make sure everybody felt, you know, at their full capacity to be able to perform for the first team.
Obviously, the players had a brand new coaching staff coming in at the end of January, so as opposed to some teams that maybe have a little bit more set or cruising a little bit in preseason, the players had to prove themselves to the new coaching staff. Was there ever a concern this year that that extra kind of wear and tear over those 6 weeks leading to this season might put the team in a different place than, say, a more established squad with a more established coaching staff?
No, I think as season goes, you know, it's a long season, and there's many things that go in between seasons. There's a lot of work that you have to do. For me, it's important that in preseason you put the right base for the entire team to be able to go through a very difficult season in which you have to travel a lot, you have to play difficult teams. Teams bring different situations, and you need to be prepared. And in this league, people find you out very quickly, so you need to be constantly, you know, bringing something different. You have to continue to make sure that you're strong in the values, in the core values that your team has, and I think the guys have done a very good job to adapt into many different things.
You have a core group of players like Foster Langsdorff, Moja Dama, Marco Farfan, a couple of other people who have been splitting time and training too between the first team and T2. Has the coaching staff had to make any special allowances for what those players have had to go through both physically and mentally being part of 2 teams?
No, it's a lot of planning. We go through a lot of planning to make sure that they are efficient when they go to T2, that they can still be able to practice with us and keep a quality practice. And as well as today, for example, Renzo coming and training with us in the first team is that balance between the 2 teams to make sure that guys also in T2 feel that they have an opportunity to come here when they do well. So it's a lot of planning, it's a lot of, you know, communication between everyone in the staff, and I think this year has been very, very good.
Particularly after this weekend, you have position battles at almost every level of the field right now, but one of the more prominent ones is at fullback, where you have 3 people have proven that they can start. What are the considerations each week that go into deciding between Alves, Jorge, and Zarek?
That's the difficult job that I have. The staff has to make those decisions, and you know, the only thing that I can say is that when you put in that situation and that it's difficult to make a decision, is, you know, is because the team is in a good place, and in this case, there's full trust not only in the fullbacks that we can play, but also the center backs and on top as well.
Another position that it seems to be a battle, if you're going with one forward now, is at the forward position. How have you seen J-Bo continue to, you know, take this opportunity and continue to grow with it, continue to be both a goal-scoring threat and a guy that can play off his teammates in the attack?
I think our patience to keep on working with Jeremy through the entire season has paid off, to make him be hungrier, to make him understand that every minute counts and that he has to give his best in every second that he plays. And I've been very content with his performances in the past games, and he has grown tremendously in his game, and we practice constantly, sometimes individually with him, to make sure that he improves and continues to do better. And now he's bringing a good battle to the guys on top. At halfway the season, it wasn't the case. We felt that he wasn't ready. And once we saw that he was ready, we gave him the trust, and he took, the responsibility to deliver upon that trust. And very content with the guys and the competition on top.
A player that we haven't seen as much of is Paredes since maybe earlier in the season when he got a number of starts. Can you just talk about why maybe we seen him, not play the same role as he played earlier?
Yeah, no, I think different things. First of all, there's a big trust in him. And there's a belief in the quality that he has. And this is an area, a position that we have a lot of players. We have a lot of competition. And in that competition, we felt that he fell through a little bit in some moments in our decision making. But the belief in him is tremendous. And now that he's back in the national team, he's been much better. He's getting back in there. It's about us making sure that we keep on working with him because the tools are there, and the belief from us to him is 100%. So it's a very important player for us, and he's continuing, as this past game to be in the 18.
How do you balance making sure a young guy like him who came in and was an immediate starter maintains his confidence and maintains the right mentality and continues to grow with the team despite maybe not getting as much playing time anymore?
Because it's part of the development of a player. A player needs to understand that these are things that happen, especially a young player. Sometimes that is work every single day. Is being able to bring and deliver high quality when things are more difficult on the player. It's important, for the young players to have, the coaching staff to be close, to communicate, to keep on working with those players to make sure that they keep on, evolving and developing. But sometimes, if they understand that, in that way, they will give you a lot more. Of course, playing is important as well because it's how they become, comfortable. But it's a balance in their development. Some guys do it quicker, some others take a little bit more. But Paredes is a mature kid, and definitely I think it's important for this team going forward in the future.
For injury updates, Pal, Armenteros, and Adanella obviously weren't in the lineup for this week in Ritual 2, but that was different. What is the status of those three players right now?
Yes, Albas is fit to play. Atinella is still under evaluation, hasn't trained yet at the moment, and Armenteros is fully fit now to be able to also play.
Was Armenteros just an illness?
Yes, an illness that happened right at the worst possible time, and that's why he wasn't available to travel with us. But now he practiced fully, and he's fully fit, and he's not sick.
You have the week off. Do you expect that Jeff would be back in time for the next game, or is that something you're going to have to evaluate through this week?
Yes, we're evaluating this week day by day. We're just making sure that we see how he's evolving, and the doctors continue to communicate to us day by day to make sure that we know what's the next step.
Coach, I have two more questions. Going back to Jeremy, in retrospect, seeing how well he's played through these series of starts that he's gotten, do you suspect that he might have actually been ready a little bit sooner than at the point at which he was integrated into the starting lineup?
Maybe, but the environment wasn't ready for him to be able to step in. But also, he was having too many highs, and lows. And it's normal for a young player. And he kept on working, he kept on believing in himself. He's one that has worked the entire season very hard. But we have to remember there was a moment in which in T2, we were evaluating him also playing in T2. We have to think that the important part is that right now he's playing at a high level. Yeah. And he's playing at the level that we believe he could play, and that's the most important part. And of course, a coach always wants to have options going forward. But at those moments, we had the other players that were delivering a little bit more, and that's why we felt that we had to make those decisions at that time.
A follow-up to that, because I think a lot of fans from the outside looked at the results at T2, saw Foster's goals and saw Jeremy's goals, and wondered why Foster wasn't elevated on the depth chart above Jeremy. So just to that, and what aspects of Jeremy's performance and Foster's performance at T2 were you looking at as far as their potential contributions to the first team?
Yeah, okay, so that's a very good question. First of all, I think there's about 30 players, and they all are important. So we can every week talk about one saying why he's not playing, because somebody has not, is not going to have the opportunity to play. I think people sometimes make the coaches say some things that sometimes are not ideal for teams. But the reality is that stats are not always the answers. Sometimes and understanding of the game plays an important part. And Jebo's done really well in that part. He's been doing well when he came in at a particular match in US Open Cup. He did a fantastic game. Then it took him a little while to get back into that level. But we've been working with him. What people don't see sometimes is the work that we do extra 1v1 with players to make sure that they get there, and that they need to have the patience, the players, to make sure that they arrive at the right time. Foster's on a very good path. He's doing really well, and we have to make sure that we don't rush his moment, because I remember also during this season how people were killing Adi. And Adi has been always a fantastic player. He's been always a good goal scorer for this club, and people were not happy about him. No, here everybody's important. Everybody, is one step away to playing. And we believe in everybody, and everybody's going to be useful these next 2 games that we're going to have, and God willing, into the playoff.
And then my final question is about, well, there's been a lot of attention paid to like Diego Valeri, Diego Chara, Sebastian Blanco learning English, but there are a couple of people in the team that are making the effort to learn Spanish. What is your reaction when you see some of those veteran players or people like Jeremy Abobasi on the field trying to connect with their Spanish-speaking teammates that way?
Listen, it's beautiful when in a team you have guys talking Spanish, French, English, and that everybody's making the effort to communicate, to learn not only the language but their culture, that they integrate with each other. And for me, the best moments are when we have a meal together, seeing them sitting together, conversing, talking, picking conversation and changing from one language to another. And I think that's a great quality to have in a locker room.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Coach, cover Spanish.
Okay.